The email from my brother landed in my inbox like a bomb. Urgent family matter. Need to discuss potential investment opportunity. I leaned back in my ergonomic chair in my very expensive, very private office that my family had no idea existed and smiled. After 15 years of mockery, the tables were finally turning. I'm Madeline Chin, though I operate under the name Madeline Rivers Online, and I built a $500 million tech empire while my family thought I was playing around with websites in my apartment. The Chin family name meant something in traditional business circles. 3 generations of successful manufacturing and distribution companies. My father ran Chin Industries with an iron fist, grooming my older brother William to take over. Me. I was the disappointment who wasted her Stanford business degree on silly internet things. The last family dinner I attended perfectly captured their attitude. It was 6 months ago at my parents' mansion in Pacific Heights. Still playing with your little website, Maddie? William had asked, cutting into his perfectly cooked Wagyu beef. What is it now, selling craft supplies online? I took a sip of wine, thinking about the 3 tech companies I'd acquired that week. Something like that. Madeline, my mother sighed, when are you going to do something serious with your life? Your cousin James just made junior partner at Goldman Sachs. I pushed my food around the plate, remembering the email I'd received that morning about my company's latest valuation. Rivers Tech Group was worth more than Goldman Sachs' entire West Coast operation, but they didn't need to know that. You know, my father added, there's always a place for you at Chin Industries. In the marketing department, perhaps. Something suitable for your interests. Marketing department. I almost laughed. Rivers Tech Group had just revolutionized e-commerce with an AI-driven platform that was changing how people shopped online. We had offices in 12 countries and a waiting list of clients willing to pay millions for our services. But my family saw what they wanted to see, their wayward daughter playing entrepreneur with her little website. It hadn't always been this way. When I graduated from Stanford, my father had big plans for me. I was supposed to join Chin Industries, learn the family business, maybe marry the son of one of our biggest suppliers. The perfect merger of old money and older traditions. Instead, I saw the future coming. E-commerce was about to explode and traditional businesses weren't ready. I tried to explain this to my father, presenting a detailed plan to modernize Chin Industries' distribution systems. Nonsense, he declared, tossing my carefully prepared proposal aside. People will always prefer traditional shopping. This internet fad will pass. That night, I made a decision that changed everything. I took my trust fund, a modest $1 million that my parents thought would keep me comfortable until I came to my senses, and invested every penny in my vision. The first 2 years were brutal. I worked from a tiny apartment, sleeping on a futon, eating ramen noodles while building my platform. My family thought I was going through a phase, having some sort of quarter-life crisis. At least she's not spending her trust fund on drugs, I overheard my mother tell her friends at the country club. Then everything changed. My e-commerce platform, Riverflow, caught the attention of major retailers struggling to compete with Amazon. Suddenly, I was turning down million-dollar investment offers, scaling faster than anyone expected. I kept my success quiet, operating under my mother's maiden name, Rivers. My family never bothered to Google me or investigate what I actually did. They were too busy celebrating William's unprecedented success in expanding Chin Industries into 3 new states. Meanwhile, I expanded into 12 countries. William hosted lavish parties to celebrate Chin Industries' modest technological upgrades. I was revolutionizing how the entire retail industry operated online, but my family still thought I was playing shop on the internet. I bought a penthouse in the city's most exclusive building but kept my old apartment for family visits. No need to explain how I afforded a $15 million property on my little website income. Then came the pandemic. Traditional businesses struggled, but e-commerce exploded. Rivers Tech Group's value tripled. We hired hundreds of employees, acquired smaller tech companies, and became the go-to solution for businesses desperate to establish online presence. Chin Industries, however, was drowning. Their outdated systems couldn't handle the sudden shift to online shopping. Their distribution networks, designed for a pre-digital age, were falling apart. I watched from afar as my brother's unprecedented success began to crumble. The same expansion he'd bragged about at family dinners was now dragging the company down. They needed a digital transformation and they needed it fast. Which brought me to this moment, staring at William's email requesting an urgent meeting about investment opportunities. My phone buzzed. My assistant reminding me about the board meeting where we'd be discussing which struggling traditional businesses to acquire next. The irony wasn't lost on me. I typed a quick reply to William, free tomorrow at 10 a.m. Send me the details. His response came immediately with an address I knew well, Chin Industries headquarters. The building where I'd once been told my ideas about digital transformation were nonsense. That evening I stood in my penthouse office looking out over the city lights. On my desk, industry magazines featured headlines about Rivers Tech Group's latest innovations. My face, or rather Madeline Rivers' face, graced the covers of business publications praising my vision and success. Tomorrow I would walk into Chin Industries not as the daughter who played with websites, but as their potential savior. The question was, how long should I let them pitch before revealing exactly who Madeline Rivers really was? My phone buzzed again, a message from my mother. Heard you're meeting with William tomorrow. Please take this seriously, Madeline. The family business is at stake. I smiled, thinking about the shock on their faces when they realized just how seriously I'd taken business all these years. Sometimes success is the best revenge, but making them wait through an entire investment pitch before revealing the truth? That would make it even sweeter. Before bed, I checked Rivers Tech Group's latest valuation, $500 million and growing. Chin Industries' entire net worth was barely a quarter of that now. Tomorrow would definitely be interesting. My assistant had already prepared the acquisition paperwork just in case. After all, Rivers Tech Group was always looking for traditional businesses to modernize. And what could be more poetic than acquiring the very company that had dismissed my vision of the future? I laid out my outfit for tomorrow. Not the casual tech CEO look I usually wore, but a power suit that would make my mother proud. It was time to show my family exactly what playing with websites could achieve. I arrived at Chin Industries headquarters exactly 10 minutes early, my Louboutin heels clicking against the marble floor of the lobby I'd once roamed as a junior employee. Nothing had changed, same dated decor, same traditional furnishings, same resistance to the digital age that was now threatening to destroy them. Ms. Rivers. A nervous assistant approached. Mr. Chin is ready for you in the main conference room. I suppressed a smile. How fitting that my own brother didn't recognize me. The last time he'd seen me, I'd been wearing jeans and a casual blazer at family dinner. Today, in my tailored Armani suit and perfect CO polish, I was a different person entirely. The conference room was packed. William sat at the head of the table, our father beside him looking older than I remembered. Board members filled the remaining seats, their expressions tense. A PowerPoint presentation about Chin Industries' digital transformation opportunity waited on the screen. Ms. Rivers, William stood extending his hand. Thank you for coming on such short notice. We've heard incredible things about Rivers Tech Group's ability to modernize traditional businesses. I shook his hand, enjoying the irony. Please call me Madeline. Oh, he smiled. My sister's name is Madeline. Though she's more into crafts websites, I believe. Several board members chuckled. My father shot them a warning look. Apparently, even in crisis, they couldn't resist mocking my little website. Shall we begin? I took a seat, pulling out my tablet. I understand Chin Industries is facing some challenges. William launched into his presentation. The numbers were worse than I'd imagined. Online competitors had stolen 60% of their market share. Their distribution systems were hopelessly outdated. They needed not just investment but a complete digital overhaul. Our projections show that without immediate intervention, William concluded, Chin Industries could face bankruptcy within 6 months. I see, I said quietly. And what exactly are you looking for from Rivers Tech Group? We need a strategic partner, my father spoke up. Someone who understands both traditional business and digital transformation. Your company's track record is impressive, Ms. Rivers. Thank you, Mr. Chin. Though I'm curious, didn't you once say that the internet was just a fad? That people would always prefer traditional shopping? He frowned. Have we met before? You could say that. I stood up, walking to the window. In fact, we had quite a lengthy discussion about digital transformation about 15 years ago. Right here in this building. The room fell silent. William's face scrunched in confusion. Then slowly realization dawned in my father's eyes. Madeline. I turned back to face them, enjoying the shocked expressions spreading across the room. Hello, Dad. William. Surprised to see what my little website turned into. William shot to his feet. This is impossible. You sell craft supplies online. No, dear brother. That's just what you assumed I did because you never bothered to actually look into my business. I picked up the tablet and projected Rivers Tech Group's financial statements onto the screen. This is what I really built while you were all laughing at my internet hobby. The board members leaned forward, eyes widening at the numbers. Rivers Tech Group's valuation, our global presence, our client list, everything I'd achieved while my family was dismissing me. $500 million, I stated clearly. That's what my little website is worth today. How much is Chin Industries worth right now, William? 100 million? Less. My father slumped in his chair looking shell-shocked. Why didn't you tell us? Would you have believed me? I laughed softly. You were all so convinced I was wasting my potential. It was easier to let you think that while I built something bigger than Chin Industries could ever be. This is why you operated under Mom's maiden name, William realized. All this time I was revolutionizing the industry while you were clinging to outdated methods. I sat back down, opening my briefcase. Now let's discuss what Rivers Tech Group can do for Chin Industries. You'll help us? My father asked, hope creeping into his voice. That depends. I laid out 2 folders. I'm prepared to make 2 offers. Option 1. Rivers Tech Group provides the digital transformation services you need, at our standard rate of $20 million, plus ongoing licensing fees. William swallowed hard. And option 2? Total acquisition. Rivers Tech Group purchases Chin Industries for a fair market value, integrates your distribution network into our system, and modernizes the entire operation. I smiled. Of course, that would mean a complete change in management. The board members exchanged glances. They knew as well as I did that Chin Industries couldn't afford option 1. You want to buy us out? William's voice cracked. Your own family's company? Business isn't about family, William. Isn't that what Dad always said? I met my father's eyes. Sometimes it's about seeing the future while others are stuck in the past. The next 2 hours were a blur of negotiations, terms, and bruised egos. By the end, the board had voted unanimously to accept Rivers Tech Group's acquisition offer. Chin Industries would become a subsidiary of my company, maintaining its name but operating under completely new management. As the board members filed out, my father remained behind, looking lost in his own conference room. I was wrong, he said quietly. About everything. About you. Yes, you were. That proposal you brought me 15 years ago, about modernizing our systems. We'd be in a very different position if I'd listened. I gathered my things ready to leave. The past is the past, Dad. The question is whether you're ready to follow someone else's vision of the future. Someone else's? He smiled sadly. You mean my daughter's vision? The one I was too proud to see. The next few months transformed Chin Industries. My team implemented the same systems that had made Rivers Tech Group successful, dragging the traditional company into the digital age. William struggled with his reduced role but eventually found his footing in a division more suited to his skills. My mother, of course, tried to rewrite history. I always knew Madeline would do something spectacular, she told her country club friends. She gets her business sense from me, you know. 6 months after the acquisition, I stood in my father's old office, now my secondary office, when I visited Chin Industries. The view of the city hadn't changed, but everything else had. Modern technology had replaced the dusty filing cabinets. Digital displays showed real-time business metrics where oil paintings once hung. My assistant knocked on the door. Ms. Rivers? The quarterly numbers are in. Chin Industries' online sales have increased 300% since the acquisition. I smiled, remembering all the family dinners where they'd mocked my understanding of e-commerce. Send them to William. He should see what happens when you embrace change instead of fearing it. Later that evening, during a rare family dinner I agreed to attend, the dynamics had shifted dramatically. No more condescending questions about my little website. No more suggestions about joining the marketing department. Instead, they listened intently as I explained my plans for expanding Rivers Tech Group's global presence. "I still can't believe you kept this secret all these years," William said, shaking his head. "We must have seemed so arrogant." "You were arrogant," I corrected him. "But sometimes arrogance blinds people to the very success they're mocking." My father raised his glass. "To Madeline Riverschin, who saw the future while we were clinging to the past." I raised my own glass, but my thoughts were already on tomorrow's meetings. Rivers Tech Group was exploring new territories, pushing boundaries my family had never dreamed of crossing. Their mockery had driven me to build something extraordinary, and now they worked for me. The little website they'd laughed at had grown into an empire. And the daughter they'd underestimated had become the savior they'd needed. Sometimes success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about being so right that they have no choice but to admit their mistakes. As I sat there watching my once proud family hang on my every word about digital transformation, I realized that the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with a $500 million valuation and an acquisition contract that turns your critics into your employees. My phone buzzed with another message about Chin Industries' soaring online sales. I smiled, thinking about how far we'd come from playing with websites to revolutionizing an entire industry. Sometimes, the smallest beginnings lead to the sweetest victories, especially when those who mocked you end up needing your help to survive. The next morning, I walked into my penthouse office at Rivers Tech Group, passing the magazine covers and industry awards that my family had never known about. On my desk, a new acquisition proposal waited for review, another traditional company struggling to survive in the digital age. I thought about all the other families out there dismissing their children's dreams of building something new. How many future tech moguls were sitting at dinner tables right now, enduring mockery about their little websites? Well, let them mock. Success speaks louder than words, and sometimes it speaks in the form of a $100 million bailout offer to the very people who laughed at your dreams.